İyi getiriyorlar.
No, and we are being recorded.
Isaac. Smoke. Smoke slash flowers. Smoke in the woods.
We got about 30 seconds.
Thanks for having us. I'm new, so
On the time.
I'm going to the calendar and miss that. Okay.
Ready? On the time. I think we're good. Folks, 8 o'clock, if you all rise, please. It's 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock. Did I say 7 o'clock? 8
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Hannah?
Moto Johnson. Katie Johnston. Diana Mendoza. Here. Nikki Pettit.
Here.
Tyler Wilson.
Here.
Robin Vaughn. Here. John Brotherton.
Here. Number 2, action agenda, additions, corrections, modifications. Okay, can I get a recommendation to? A motion?
Make a motion to approve the agenda, removing and correcting items as presented.
Okay. I'll second it.
Tyler Wilson.
Aye.
John Brotherton.
Aye.
Robin Vaughn.
Aye.
Diana Mendoza.
Aye.
Nikki Pettit.
Aye.
Move on to number 3, public hearing concerning the intent of the board to sell 6 million, boy, I'm having trouble with my numbers tonight, general obligation school bonds. And I have to read some things, sorry. So the next agenda item for the Board of Education is a public hearing to receive public comments, as I said. And all persons desiring to be heard will have an opportunity to present written or oral testimony with respect to the bonds. At this time, I'll open the discussion. The reason for the proposed issuance, of the alternate bonds is as follows: building and equipping an early childhood learning center. Are there any additional comments from the members of the Board of Education? Okay. I will now move on to written testimony concerning the proposed issuance of the alternate bonds. Is there any written testimony?
We did not receive any written testimony.
Okay. We will move on to oral testimony or any public comment concerning the proposed issuance of the alternate bonds. Is there anyone present who wishes to provide oral testimony or public comment?
We did have one comment form turned in, but it was not for the bonds.
Okay. At this time, all persons desiring to be heard have been given an opportunity to present oral and written testimony with respect to the proposed issuance of the alternate bonds. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
The hearing.
The hearing.
I'll make the motion to adjourn the hearing.
Okay, I'll second that. Okay.
Sorry, going from the paper. Tyler Wilson.
Aye.
Robin Vaughn.
Aye.
Nikki Pettit.
Aye.
John Brotherton.
Aye.
Diana Mendoza.
Okay. All right. Moving to number 4, public comments. We never had a public comment. Thank you, sir.
I do have a timer.
Okay. Donita Overman, am I pronouncing that correctly? Donita, would you like to come up here and state your purpose?
I just want to speak in front of
Or
the
you
board
state it, that's fine.
about having some issues in bullying in Northview. I feel like there's enough teachers and enough people accountable, and my stepchildren are just, seems like daily they come home with a horror story. And I feel like we send them to school and it's the adults at the school's job to protect those children. And I myself am a former lunch lady, so I know, I kind of know the whole system of how it works in a school. But my biggest issue that I'm standing before you, like my son did something that to protect a sister because he told the teacher, she had told the teacher that she was being bullied. And it was kind of swept under the rug. So my son then took a kid's cell phone and destroyed it in order to kind of avenge his sister. And my whole theory is we raise very well-behaved children. When they speak, they say, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. They're very well-behaved. So this was very out of character. Not only was he suspended for a couple days, but he was also kicked out of the after-school program. Well, that's kind of like a double jeopardy to me. You know, we punished him twice for the same crime. And as an adult, I kind of raised my eyebrow, although I don't say anything to him. And then the next week, my stepdaughter in 4th grade is called the B word. And it's just kind of swept under a rug and pointed back at my son that took the phone. And it's kind of like, I just feel like as students going to the school, the teachers and everybody need to hear these kids when they're talking about bullying. I have helped a very good friend of mine bury a child over bullying, and this is not what I want to see come. So I just thought I would address that and bring it to the board members' attention that there's definitely a lot of it going on in Northview.
And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess we'll move on to number 5, consent agenda items.
Okay, so in your packets, board members, for consent agenda are the board meeting minutes, the regular financials, personnel items. I do want to bring to your attention 2 job descriptions that were in the packet. We are looking to add a maintenance worker position for basic maintenance. And so we've reworked a job description for that one. And then this one was on the agenda last month, but we pulled it because we needed to finalize it, is the non-teacher licensed board certified behavior analyst job description. So a board certified behavior analyst can either be a certified teacher or not. So we had to create a second job description for if we were to hire someone who wasn't licensed as a teacher. Then there are an MOU to renew with the Regional Planning Commission that we approved last year. That's YAC Youth Assessment Center is what it's about. And then a renewal of an intergovernmental agreement with the Rural Champaign County Special Education Cooperative. And this is where we contract with them to provide vision and hearing services. We do not have a staff member of our own. That's it.
Questions?
Is it possible to break out one MOU from the consent agenda and vote for the rest? Or?
You could actually, if you abstain from the whole consent agenda, it's okay. The consent agenda can pass.
Okay.
And you can say why you're abstaining when the time comes to vote, if you'd rather do it that way.
Okay.
Okay.
What vision and hearing?
So we have students, special education students typically that receive, it's a specialized teacher essentially that works with vision impaired students, and there's a specialized teacher that works with hearing impaired students. We've had both of those positions posted for years and just we haven't filled them. If we could hire a full-time person, we would, but that's what it's for. So that's the area that serves a lot of the districts around us, is that group, the Rural Champaign County Special Ed Co-op. So we're basically sharing a staff member.
Tough to find.
Yep.
Well, would anybody like to make the motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda items, including personnel report as submitted with the stipulation that each individual is required to comply with all requirements for new hires as indicated in Illinois statutes and RCS board policy and procedures, including ratification of bills prepaid by the finance manager under board policy 450.
Second.
Nikki seconded.
Diana Mendoza. Aye. Mindy Pettit.
Aye.
Tyler Wilson.
Aye.
Robin Vaughn.
I'm going to abstain. The MOU with the Regional Planning Commission for the Youth Assessment Center is a program that I am directly responsible for grant management on.
Thank you.
All right. And John Brotherton.
Aye.
can go on to the pre-K item, discussion of the pre-K facility plan.
Several
All right.
discussions. Pre-K.
Okay, so this is our third meeting in a row now where this has been a discussion item. Board members, I did share some background information with you today, so hopefully you had a chance to see it, but I will now review that same information for everyone and for the public. So the main thing I want to share is with all of our discussions about the pre-K facility, we've had the goal to provide an adequate space for pre-K instruction and adequate support for the pre-K program. Since the last board meeting, we learned of additional construction code requirements that apply to newly constructed standalone school facilities. This requirement could increase our total cost by an additional 8 to 10%. Put that in perspective, that's $500,000 to $600,000 more. As a result, we are now considering in greater detail renovating and adding onto an existing school building. We remain committed, I'll say district administration, it's up to the board. I assume you all remain committed to providing adequate space for our pre-K program. Specifically, what has come about is we were advised by the Regional Office of Education that as a standalone school facility, there are requirements for new construction related to equipping a storm shelter in the building. And those requirements, while it makes sense, they're very expensive. So you have to have a space large enough to house all of the students, and it has to meet these storm requirements. It has to have its own standalone HVAC system, standalone generator. And it really, in my opinion, is going to push us beyond a cost point that at least I'm comfortable with. So then with that in mind, as well as some of the issues with the bond and why we're moving forward with the bond, and that adds costs for us, there is a cost savings in utilizing an existing facility in some of the space in that. So we haven't really talked about that previously. We talked about taking a school and just renovating an existing school on the inside. And we've talked about new construction. So what this is doing is, in what we're hoping to do at this point is take some classrooms of one of our existing elementary schools and renovating those classrooms, probably maybe into things like the office spaces, the multipurpose rooms that we would need. And then an addition would be the new classrooms, is what we're thinking. So the addition would, in my opinion, from what I'm seeing right now, is it's more cost effective to do the new construction with the classrooms because we're adding in the plumbing. We would have a toilet room, right? And that's what VB calls them, the toilet rooms for all of the classrooms. And the classrooms at the schools are between 550 and 650 square feet as they are right now. And we're aiming at least 750 square feet for the new pre-K classrooms, if not a little larger. Just throw that in there. But the minimum we've calculated is 17 kids times 50 feet, and that is 750 square feet, if I did my math right. I didn't do my math right, did I? 850? 850, okay. So the current rooms in any of our elementary schools don't meet that size requirement. That's why building in the new rooms would make sense. Renovating the existing classrooms into spaces we can use is kind of what we're aiming at right now. So I did all on my own today, came up with some pros and cons just so the board and the public would be aware. The main pro is it saves costs on a portion of the total project by reusing an existing school structure. We would not have the cost of installing a storm shelter. And we believe we will also be able to eliminate the cost of installing a sprinkler system. We're working through that still. The next would be reduce or even possibly eliminate some of the site construction costs that would go with it, such as driveways and parking lots and playgrounds. We would potentially be able to tie into our existing geothermal system for HVAC on those classrooms, which is going to give us a huge energy efficiency that we're already getting in our current buildings. And we would potentially reduce borrowing costs by basically borrowing less. The cons, I think, is the pre-K does not get a standalone facility, and we will have less flexibility in our design. I think our parameters become tighter by having to look at renovating space. And we will have disruption to at least one of our campuses through probably shifting enrollment and the construction process. I don't think the cons are significant enough for us to not move forward with a pre-K facility. I think we still need to do that. This is, I think, a viable way to move forward with it. I'm not at a point where I would like to share what schools we're looking at, because I think that changes the conversation too much. But one of the things we've had to look at is where are our geothermal wells? That's a consideration. So that even though all of our schools have a lot of green space, what you don't see from the surface is a large amount of that green space has wells underneath it that we cannot build on top of. So we have to look at that and how much space is available that wouldn't have to be changed. So like it would be cost prohibitive to move an entire school parking lot to build the building, because that, we think of the parking lot project we did out here. That's just not something that is going to be cost effective. So we're really trying to identify which one of our school sites has the land space that would have the least disruption to the current property. We have to attach the building. That's what it means. So I didn't say that clearly. So the new construction, in order to get around all these code rules, has to attach to an existing building. So it could be attached by a breezeway. It does not mean it is, but we were, hopefully, we haven't seen any drafts yet from BP that it will be something that will integrate nicely into one of our existing schools when we get to that point. So we don't want it to just look like something stuck on the side. It will a little bit, I would guess, but not entirely. I know this is not what pre-K staff want to hear, but as I've said, I do think it's the intent of the district and of the board to still provide an adequate facility. So I shared everything. Now it would be discussion and question time.
Why was this just found from all the research that we did? Yeah.
So I would say that our architect's interpretation of the code is different from the regional superintendent. And so when we got to the point where we were in discussion with the regional superintendent, he said, are you remembering to do the storm shelter? And that's when it came up. So I think our architect's interpretation of the code was that we did not need the storm shelter, but the ROE is telling us we need to, and ROE has the final say on it, the regional office.
And there's no application for a waiver process or?
Not that I'm aware of, but that's definitely something we can ask. I don't think there will, but I can definitely ask that to the ROE, so.
When was that put in? Like, how long has that been put in?
I don't know.
Because then you can, like Muhammad just built a new school, or, you can go to them and say, how'd you get around it?
Yeah.
Or are you?
They may have actually incorporated it.
Right, but if they haven't, how did you get around it? And that leads into Robin's point of a waiver of some point.
So I can, I'm not gonna, you can talk if you want, but Tom in his previous life in Urbana, they just did a major renovation. And it's not entirely that it's new construction. If you're increasing it by 50, if the renovation is more than 50% of the building, it falls under these requirements too. So in the school Tom was at, they had to do all of the storm shelters on the renovation project. And what did it include?
So it included, on all the windows, we had sliding, they're almost kind of resemble garage doors that would go down in the event that the alarms were triggered to prevent, they were metal and they prevented any glass from coming in. We had a standalone generator, a giant generator, it was the size of a classroom that went in and was installed. And then the HVAC system was kind of separate from the school so that it could support everyone in the event that there was the need to use the space. The space became its own self-contained space.
Got its own bathroom.
Had its own bathroom, yep. So. It ended up being 4 full classrooms that served as our storm shelter. So our whole fine arts wing became the storm shelter. Essentially its own standalone building. It has different structure that gets put in place because it has to withstand the impact of like a tornado. So there was more structural steel put in, there was more concrete reinforcing put in, and all of that has to be taken into account when you build the structure itself.
So you would, and from the outside, you would never know that.
Nobody noticed us. You have to actually be looking and be told where things are for you to really key on what's happening.
What was the estimated cost when you completed that project? Like,
It was
how much overage did it cost?
It wasn't overage, it was incorporated into the project. That was an understood of the project. So, yeah.
And we haven't gotten to the point yet where we've gone out and gotten bids.
Correct.
So at this was the point where if we took the project we were on and go out to bids, now the bids are all going to include the storm shelter component that we would do. So, I mean, and we've talked where there is, and continuing on working with VP, is we're still looking at the 8 new classrooms. But those would be the addition, would be the 8 new classrooms. Most likely, I should throw that in there. Sometimes when he gets into the details, it's, he can shift things around that we're not really able to envision. It ultimately could cost less too, to do it this way. I don't know at this point. Because we are not, so one of the cost savings other than it's the structure itself, we're not having to build a structure for the areas that we'd be renovating. And we're not looking to pull in bathrooms and those types of things.
So what about all the financial things that we discussed? Like, are you saying that none of that stuff is going to change? Like, we still need to?
What do you mean?
Because there were amounts that were given, right? And didn't we talk about liquidating?
So we haven't changed our bottom line yet, right? So where this could give us flexibility is potentially we wouldn't have to sell bonds at all. So we haven't voted to do that, to actually sell the bonds yet. So we're just in that process. I think we would likely still want to sell some bonds in order to take care of, make sure we have enough cash on hand to do some other projects like roofs at other schools. So, yeah, I mean, we're not, so I mean, in my mind, 6 million is about the threshold of where we're comfortable. We could probably go higher. But I think the storm shelter piece pushes us over. And also we were prepared to borrow up to 6 million and then pay that interest back. And if this would allow us, I mean, if we were able to still fully fund it, we wouldn't have to sell any bonds
Right,
at this point because it's an addition.
okay.
So those are things we still have to process through. But this is not, we're not spending more money. Let's be clear on that, right? This isn't gonna cost us
Right.
more money than we're already
Because-
talking about.
That was the whole point of you presenting this, right? Because you're like, if we did it the way that we were first thinking about it, it would cost
Yes.
us, what'd you say, 10% more?
That's my estimate because the number was used was about 500,000 at least. There's really nothing for us to vote on right now, other than, again, I think it might be helpful for our pre-K staff. Look at the glum looks back there, I'm sorry. To hear from the board that yes, you are still in support of giving or making sure we have the adequate facility.
I'm just bummed because I feel like it's pushing it back. Like, I don't understand why we didn't,
What is
all
the
these
timeline?
processes take so long anyway.
Mhm.
I'm
What is the
sorry.
timeline was the question. This pushes the timeline back. That's, I mean, I feel like it's been pretty clear to me that none of these are probably have pre-K out by August,
Right.
right?
Well,
And
we know
that
that.
the hope is that we're at some point early next school year or by winter, that we're in a new facility for them.
That's fingers crossed with everything going smooth right now.
No, I think that's
October.
doable.
Okay.
I do. So, will everything be, I mean, like, when we opened RISE, we didn't have doors on the classrooms yet, but we were able to still open.
Sure.
Right? So there's, you guys need doors. I'll just share that. Yes, I know. Yeah, I don't. Jenny, do you want to jump in?
Well, I guess, I mean, we will need to make some decisions here pretty soon.
Yep.
Because it will take, we have to have it posted for at least 30 days for the bidding process, then it's another month for collecting those bids and then opening them, and then you have to make a decision, and then they do all the planning. So, yeah, I would say that we probably need to start coming to some conclusions here pretty soon. And so that we can, I've expressed my concern that if we keep changing our mind with what we ask VP to draw up, it just takes longer and longer, and we're just paying him more money and more money and more
Yeah,
money. So,
That too.
I think some direction on how much you're willing to spend, the direction that you're willing to go, is kind of critical, because that's what he keeps asking us. What's my budget? I mean, I can draw something up, but you gotta tell me what the budget is. So I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing, is what does the board feel comfortable with? Because there are things that are unpredictables that, you know, once we send it out there for bid, what the bids come in at, that's what they come in at, and you either say we're gonna do it,
Yes
or
or
you
no.
say no, and then that
And
bumps
then
it
back.
farther down the line.
Yeah.
So,
But I think we can, working with VP, get something out to bid that we can afford. And I mean, if it doesn't come back as something we can afford, then that's just a giant miscalculation. And, you know, there are economic things that go on that might shift that. Yeah, so I guess, so one thing I can do is I can follow up, see if there's any way, again, to get out of that problem with the farm shelter. And then, the other piece would be, that's the main one, is we are working with VP right now to get, some plans done. And then, as soon as he's got that, we can go out to bid. Is the board still okay with us moving forward with the project, putting it out to bid? Again, you don't vote until we get the bids back. You either vote to accept the bids or not accept the bids when we get to that point.
This would be a stick-built building addition?
Traditional construction, yeah.
Traditional construction.
I'm good with it. Just, I would reiterate to VP that we need to make sure that we have enough runoff, so we're not buying two houses next to Northview because they flood because we put in a concrete parking lot.
I also have concern about like parking and traffic issues. If we're gonna put, potentially like 125, 130 kids in another building, where's all that traffic gonna go when we have pickup times and drop-off times and?
And so prior to moving to the church, when Pleasant Acres shared the space with the pre-K program, those are things they work through. So the enrollment at whatever school is, wherever pre-K goes, the enrollment in that school of K-5 likely has to go down. So that's one part of it. The nice thing is the start and end times are not the same. Pre-K is on a very different schedule during the day for parent drop-off and pickup. Staff parking could be the issue, could be an issue, I'd say. But the drop-off pickup stuff, it's crowded at all of our buildings. So, but I mean, they were doing it previously at Pleasant Acres. It wasn't ideal, but it can happen.
So we're gonna displace kindergartners that are already in their schools?
No.
No.
No. It would be most likely looking at the total number of sections at a grade level and making sure whatever school it goes into, they can effectively house those sections. So if there's a school that has 3 sections at 5th grade, well, we might have to look at how we make it only 2 sections. And that might shift some students to another school, but we'll try to minimize that as much as possible.
And we do have conversations with BP about the traffic situation.
Yes.
So when he's thinking about layout and changing how the drive and drop-off pieces are, he is aware. We try to make him aware of any of those issues as well.
Okay.
I'm okay with it. I just want to make sure that we're spending our money smartly and, you know, taking into consideration that there's a lot of, you know, variables moving into or adding on to an existing building that's what, like 80 years old? I worry about that. But I'm okay moving forward.
Diane? Haven't heard you this evening. Yeah, I'm not trying to force you to say something, obviously.
I'm fine. I mean, we gotta do what's best and I'm okay with moving forward too.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanna move forward. I wanna move forward.
Yeah.
We're stuck. Forward.
All right, so let's hope that on November 9th, we're not talking about changing the plan, okay? And hopefully we'll have some sketches and things from VP. We haven't given him a deadline yet, but I think I just did. Okay. I think we are. We move on.
Action, MOU with RCESPA, attendance incentive.
Tom.
So Scott and I worked on this. We are finding that in most cases on a normal day, we're able to cover most of our classroom vacancies, not all of them. But the things that get left uncovered then are TAs. And so we sat down and discussed how could we incentivize our TAs in order to improve attendance for them so that we have less vacancies on a given day for our teaching assistants. And so what we came up with was this attendance incentive. It is a 2 kind of prong approach. The first is just it's linked to the number of days that they miss. So if a TA misses between 0 and 2 days, they would be qualifying for a $750 bonus or a stipend for each of the remaining 2 trimesters. So the next one runs from November, February, and then the 3rd trimester runs from that February date to the end of the year. And so if they miss 0 to 2 days, they get $750. If they miss between 2 and 3 days, they get $500. And if they are absent more than 3 days, they don't get the stipend. So that's step 1. And then the second step is just to incentivize people to not use their personal days if they can avoid that. And we would be willing to provide them up to $475 at the end of the year if they have 3 personal days left unused. If they use 2 of their personal days, or if they have 2 remaining, they get $300. And if they have 1 day remaining, they get $125. Our goal is to just increase the attendance rate of our teaching assistants and provide them some incentive to do so. We are not the only district that is doing this. So this is going to start popping up more and more around the area as we try to get staff to come to work.
How about being an adult and just showing up for work?
Yep.
I don't get an incentive to come to my job.
We have the funds available to do this.
Yes.
So we also have part of the way we have funds is we have unfilled positions. And so we budget for the teaching assistant positions, and then we've been unable to fill some of them. So it's just this, I agree with you, Tyler, and I think sometimes it's, I think for all employees, there are times when it's just easier to take a day off. And we're trying to say, in those cases, we're trying to say, don't take the day off. And there's a positive at the end. Things that we have discussed, typically, people wanted to save their sick days and their personal days because they could use them towards retirement. We are not seeing very many of our teaching assistants staying for the long haul right now, where they would actually get to retirement. So they don't see a benefit of saving the sick time. Teachers generally see the benefit of it because they're in it for their full career. So, I mean, that's what we're looking at, is just that they're trained, they're good at their jobs, and we just need them to come to work more than they do.
So do we have to pay out sick days at the end of the year if they don't use them?
No. But they keep them, and it goes towards their retirement through, so that there is a cost. I don't know how it works. I don't think we pay anything directly. I don't think so. So you can so I know for a teacher, you can retire up to 2 years early if you have 2 years worth of sick time. I don't know what it is for TAs. Anyway, for IMRF, I don't know what it is for IMRF.
Any other discussion? Yeah, anybody like to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve the item as presented.
I'll second that.
Diana Mendoza,
Aye.
Nikki Pettit,
Aye.
Tyler Wilson,
No.
Robin Vaughn,
Aye.
John Robitaille.
Aye. Okay. Moving on to number 9, information items.
All right, we had one FOIA. It had 5 large parts, and that's in your packet. We had 3 articles that I saw in the News Gazette this month. So they did a nice article about the new pre-K facility. There was an article about the J.W. Ader librarian and a nice piece on our Hispanic Heritage Celebration. The student discipline report is in your packet. Board, I did include a report that I actually made that one of these reports public this time, when that was the CARE report, which is our elementary alternative to suspension program. So Mr. Henderson wrote up a report. I think he's planning to do it quarterly. So when I get that report for him, I'll share that with you. And he has a breakdown of where are the kids coming from, what are the grade levels, which schools, and how long they're there. The other one is our LEA determination. This is our next one. And kudos to Allison and Kelly and all of our SPED staff. We got a perfect score again on our LEA determination, which is great. And Allison and Kelly are not here tonight because they're at a conference for special education people. So
In Hawaii.
it is not. I probably shouldn't publicly share that they're out of town right now. All right, so, but it is in Illinois, and it is not somewhere exciting. I will say that. So.
Oh, you mean it's here?
No. Here it's exciting in Rantoul. All right. The next item would be new business, and I know that we have our first new business item. You had suggested this being the admission charges. You wanted to have that put on the agenda.
Oh, yes. Sorry. I think that it would be a good idea if we get into events for free, since we're board members.
So as a new business item, it's our first one. Basically, the board would say, do we want to put this on the agenda at a future meeting, probably next month, and we would have it as an action item. And we would discuss it and have it as an action item at that time.
High school.
That's up to,
Yeah.
are you guys okay with putting it on the agenda?
Yeah.
I am.
All right. And I did add employees on there because we don't typically charge our employees, but I think it's hit and miss. I found that out, that if the staff at Ader don't know you're an employee, you pay. See how that, yeah. But if they,
Get a fancy card too.
yeah. And the high school does it too, you said?
Oh, yes.
All right.
I get eaten free too, because I'm a spouse.
Oh boy, this is gonna be, we'll put this after the pre-K discussion.
Why didn't you tell me that? I would have tagged along with you.
Everybody knows who Mrs. Brotherton is, so.
All right, great. All right, so we'll add that on the agenda, probably November 9th agenda. And good.
Superintendent, any comments?
All right, I sure do. I do want to remind everyone that our next board meeting is on the second Thursday of the month, not the third. So we have November 9th.
Why is that?
Is because on the following week, the 16th, we are at the state conference for school board. So there are a couple big items on the next November meeting, along with admission charges for board members. We will have,
I'm gonna let that go.
I think I did it again and we have 2 hearings. So I said I would never do it again. But we have the truth and taxation hearing and then we have to vote on the tax levy. That's the property tax levy. So anytime we may be, once you hit a certain threshold in the tax levy, you have to do a truth and taxation hearing. And we've done one. The 2 years I've been here, we've done one. And I think we were doing them. It's only really coming up because of the issue with the CPI is greater than 5% right now, is what's driving it. And then our e-learning plan, our e-learning plan is to allow us to have school days on snow days. That was first put in place in 2020 for a different reason. And we have to revise it and update it. And when Jenny and I pulled what we have approved, it's not what we're doing now anyway. So the new e-learning plan will actually reflect what our teachers are doing with our students. So I think there's a hearing on that we have to do also. Also, Hannah has a lot of things she wants to ask you guys right now. So, but one is the delegate assembly volunteer. So at the III conference, there is the delegate assembly. Did you do it one year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, so we're wondering, it was really exciting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a board member that would like to serve as at the delegate assembly, as our delegate?
I think Diana should.
You nominate Diana.
I do nominate Diana.
Why is that?
So, for now, it's Diana.
Didn't you go last
And-
year? Didn't you do it for us last year?
No.
I don't think we had anyone
I
last
don't
year.
think we had anybody last year.
I thought she went to I thought you went to it for a little
So
bit.
it is this for the III, but it's also another meeting somewhere along the line. I don't remember when it is.
What do you mean it will be along the
I
line?
think there's something else in the middle of the year, isn't there?
I don't know.
I didn't do that.
It's the Illini conference.
So Hannah will get you more information about being our delegate. All right.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you, Diana. And if you really can't, we'll sort. We don't actually have to have a delegate, but it's part of the Illinois Association of School Boards. So my understanding is it's their policy and rules. It's like, what policies do you want IASB to push for in the upcoming year? And they have a delegate assembly that they do the vote.
I wasn't lying when I said it was interesting, but I like that kind of stuff. I already like that.
Appreciate that.
For board comments, I
Any
mean.
board comments?
Well, I wish
Yes.
she wouldn't have left because I would have told her I feel the exact same way that she does, which I spoke to you about. I'm not happy with the way that we're doing things and I don't know what to do because as a parent, I feel like we're not doing enough, but then I see as a board member that we really are trying to do things and implement stuff, but it doesn't feel like it as a parent when that kind of thing happens to your child. And so I don't know what we're doing or how to fix it, but I know that I'm not happy. And I think that she would have benefited if she would have heard a board member actually say that. So, sorry.
We do have our contact information.
Okay,
I think it should be on there. Yep.
well, I don't know how great she would feel when I'm sitting here saying, I don't know what we can do. I don't.
It's a very hard topic.
And I get, what's more upsetting to me is when people get up there and do the whole definition, well, technically bullying is blah, blah, blah. You know, I know that it's not what we are truly defining bullying, but it doesn't mean that our kids aren't being hurt mentally and that stuff isn't affecting them. And when we, as staff and admin, respond to parents like that, all that does is cause a friction and a rift in between the two. That's no way to do it. It's really not. Anyway, I'm obviously getting stressed. I need a woo-saw, so let's move on to something else. I'm done talking.
Anybody else? Well, not to counter what you said, but I just want to again express my appreciation to all the buildings for what they do. What's on Facebook, all the stuff, you know, I just, it amazes me. My wife will say, look on Facebook. I said, what? Look on Facebook. So I get Facebook, and there's just something about this building and that building and what they're doing, the neat, and just not, it looks like it's, I shouldn't say it looks like, it is something that's constructive. It's just not, well, here, we're having a little parade over here. We're, you know, I mean, which is fine, but it looks to me like that people who maybe have the wrong impression or don't really think too much about schools and say, gosh, they're doing that, well, that's neat. So I just, you know, and I'll personally share, our daughter and I are at East Lawn this year. And just what, and I'm there for extended enough time that I see what is, you know, it's not 10 minutes or 15 minutes. We're there, you know, quite a bit of the day and on Fridays. And I just see so many neat things. And one of the biggest things, and this is a personal thing that I stress with myself. I don't always accomplish it, but I stress, be polite, be nice, smile, have a positive word to say. And it seems like that's what I hear so much at these buildings. It's just not East Lawn, it's, you know, but I specifically can tell you about East Lawn. Just every comment, and you could be cynical and say, well, just because you're there, but they're down the hall, they don't know that I'm there. They're not trying to impress me. They're helping these kids. And I can't say enough for what our faculty and staff, what they do. So, thank you, all of you.
I want to say I love what all the schools are doing, but I saw something very positive. Places and Anchors giving teachers positive referral. I love that. That is something very nice. You know, they do it for kids, but giving it to teachers where kids can give it to teachers, that is very hard for one.
Yeah.
I love that.
I do want to highlight our Hispanic Heritage event because we officially need a bigger gym at Ader.
I
for
saw
that.
was.
Oh my gosh.
It was.
And we need multiple food lines. That's the other thing.
I was bummed I missed it, but yes, it was
All right.
the dances and everything.
And then on the rainy evening, you could thought, well, some people, it was packed. Very good job.
I think I would just like to say thank you to the teachers out there that have gone out of their way for their students this year. And I completely understand where you're coming from because I've been that parent too, that's in that position for multiple years with both of my kids. But this year, my son's having a great year, and this is the first year that I've had a teacher, every time he takes a test, she texts me to let me know how amazing he's doing in school. And hearing the positives coming versus always hearing the negatives coming has been a big change, and I really appreciate those teachers that are trying to do that.
I just want to make sure that everyone heard me when I said, as a board member, I do see what we're doing. Y'all heard that, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because I did say that, okay.
I'll defend you.
Yeah.
But as a parent, I am also upset.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion to adjourn the meeting.
Well, can I say one more thing?
Yeah, sorry.
I, at the risk of sounding like I'm a suck up, I would like to also thank the administration for being in the buildings. To be very blunt, that has not always been the case in past many years. When I taught, I rarely saw an administrator. I never saw a board member. And when I first came on the board, I did not see administrators out doing what they're doing now. And I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep.
And where were you today?
I don't remember where I was. I was in pre-K.
Yeah.
I was in pre-K.
You know.
I was in your class.
You tell me,
That's
where
right.
was I?
Playing with Legos.
I had to
Oh, Legos, really?
That was 12 hours ago, I think.
I know that long, but you know, you could say, well, I'm so busy. And I heard that from someone in a higher position here. I just have too much to do. And that was suggested.
And I will say, I think it's something all of believe it or not, there's only 5 district administrators. I know that people think there's like 80 of us, but, and we are all out in the buildings regularly. Partly it's part of our jobs that we have things to do in the buildings, but
And again, it's just not you.
sometimes it's
I'm talking
visiting,
about other
right, I know, them too. All right, but it's also just visiting classrooms and things that we like to do. I actually enjoy going to pre-K. I know it's hard to believe, but
Well, with your disposition, you're.
I'm they don't understand sarcasm. That's the thing I'm learning. I scare them. All right. How are you, Tyler?
Tyler?
I'd like to make the motion to adjourn the meeting.
10 minutes ago, yeah. I'll
I
second.
second that.
All right, Diana Mendoza.
Nope, roll call vote. We don't have to, we can say.
Oh, I'm sorry, all in favor?
Technically, we didn't have the name. I started giving Tyler the eye 5 minutes ago.
Scott.
All right. Tyler?
I'm going to turn off the audio now, everyone.
I love you, Nikki.
Yeah, thank you.
Will you be
Thank you.
on?